when I, oh,
Sorry.
very serious. Okay. Okay. When I first signed up to be a master gardener, it was 1993. And the director at the Sandhill Rec was Dr. Stephen Vercade. And he lived in the little white cottage with his wife, Connie, and his little 3-year-old daughter, Hartney. And Connie always called her the Heartster. And they would walk around the property holding hands, the three of them, and they had the whole place practically to themselves. It was just a wonderful existence, and they appreciated every bit of it. And Connie used to hang her laundry on the clothesline behind the cottage garden. And I love that because I grew up with clotheslines and I've always loved laundry for some odd reason. And so they were just delightful people. And Stephen Vercade was a very creative, kind of a gentleman and very creative. And he became head of Columbia Green. And then he got all these groups involved. He was excellent at this, getting groups involved to take over. He got Woodley's to do the Winnie the Pooh garden. He got the Greater Columbia Landscape Association to do the entrance, the Department of Mental Health to do the Three Bears garden, the Wildlife Federation to do Habitat Garden. So he was, and he got Woodlake Garden Club did the Alphabet Garden that had the little white fence. So he was wonderful at bringing people together. And people, was the property, the 600 acres are surrounded by development. And it was a very unique situation where you had the Northeast was booming and you had this little oasis in the middle of it. And people, it was the access from the surrounding neighborhoods was wonderful for them. And they loved it and they took advantage of it and came on the property a lot. So one day, Steve and Connie were telling me that a woman knocked on their door at the little white cottage. And she said, I was married in this cottage. And they were shocked. And she came in and she said, right here by the fireplace. And she said that the cottage used to be on a little, on where Clemson Road is now. There was a little road there. And they put it on logs and rolled it back to where it is now. And the side yard that they had, the little side garden, is now the cottage garden. So I thought that was so interesting that somebody really lived in that and used it. I know there's someone in it now, but it was really home for them. And what Stephen did, he knew somebody famous, Sharon Lovejoy, the author and illustrator. And Sharon is like our version of Beatrix Potter. And I became aware of her when I was reading in Country Living magazine. She wrote an article about worms. And I fell in love with this, her writing, because she kept saying, I hear the girls singing. She always called them her girls. And she was always taking her garbage out to talk to the girls. And she felt so motherly toward them. And then she gave a lot of science about worms. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to find out about this person. Well, Stephen knew her and invited her to the property. And she designed our logo, which most of you are familiar with, but I'll show you, I have a slide later. But she is a watercolorist and just a lovely painter. And she's still writing books today. She's the consultant to the American Horticultural Society for Children's Gardens. She wrote more books. I'm trying to think of the one that I thought had such a funny name. I just ordered it, something about a pride of toads or some funny name like that. And always with such sensitivity toward nature. She's delightful. If you go on her website, Sharon Lovejoy, you will, even her website is adorable. And you can click on, you can join the Grimy Hands Girls Club by clicking on a picture. So she loves the wonder and discovery of nature. When she was 7 years, I think till the age of 7, she lived with her grandmother who was a botanist. And the stories that she wrote, and I bought, here, I'll show you, I bought some of her books. And when she came and she I didn't realize, I'd forgotten that she had signed them for me, but sunflower houses and hollyhock days. I don't know, does that focus?
No,
Good enough.
not very well. There,
Okay,
good. That's better.
is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sunflower houses and hollyhock days tells you how to make houses for children out of sunflowers. And root shoots, buckets and boots is another one.
Oh, yeah, that one's familiar.
Yeah, and then trial and error, which I bought, but I must have lent it to someone because I couldn't find it. So she's just a prolific writer and completely and charming as a human being, and lives in Maine, and she has this blog and everything. So anyway, she's somebody to think about in the future, to keep in contact with her. She listed our garden in her list of children's gardens in the United States. So I thank Stephen for bringing her in, and I think she would still, I haven't contacted her yet because I didn't quite know what to say, but I think that's, maybe we can one day get her to come, because she talks all over the world, really, on nature and how grandmothers can do with their grandchildren in nature. I mean, just fabulous things. So anyway, she designed our logo. And then after Stephen, there was a series of directors that came and went. And I wasn't that familiar with some of them, except maybe John Parrish. And but nothing was really done with the children's garden. They just kind of they let the master gardeners volunteer in it, but they didn't interfere. They didn't really. We worried, honestly, the whole time that Clemson was going to sell this land. We really did. But we kept working in the garden thinking, well, let's just keep going. And then Mac Horton, Dr. Horton came, and he had a wonderful attitude toward the master gardeners, toward the children's garden, more, what can I do to help? And he would, when we would work in the garden, he would take peaches from the orchard, which was adjacent to the garden, and bring us peaches while we were working, which I thought was such a lovely thing to do. And the property was open from dawn to dusk. And it was well used by people, would ride their dirt bikes through there and walk through there. And the Sparkleberry Fair was held there for many years. And that brought thousands of people from the community to kind of an old timey farm oriented social event that I'm sure we've all been to it. And then they'd have the antique tractors and the petting zoo. And I love the Sparkleberry Fair. Well, to make money for the garden, I had been to the Philadelphia Flower Show, which was one of the highlights of my life. My sister lives there, and so I could stay with her. And in this, I was like a kid in the candy store there, but if you ever get a chance to go, and now it's outside, it was in the convention center when I went, but they had this jewelry called it's made by the world's smallest company. And I'll show you, let me see if I wanted to show you, because some of you have bought this jewelry in the past, I'm sure. Does this look familiar at all? Their little shovels?
Oh, yes, I have the spade, yeah.
Yes.
Now, are they still in business?
No, because believe me, if they were, I would try to sell this again.
Yeah, I didn't think they were. I couldn't find them again.
We used to sell this jewelry. It's pewter. I always say it was made by Amish elves, because it was made in the Amish country, and it's pewter and wood. And and remember, they had bird houses and owl houses, and we used to sell them to the new classes of master gardeners, and we actually made thousands of dollars on that. I sold them out of the back of my car for years. So that was such a fun way to raise money. And since the new gardeners thought we were so wise, because we were a couple years ahead of them, they believed us and bought anything we said. So so then Mark Sanford became governor, and he was very tight with money. He was the guy that brought the pigs into the State House, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And he was cutting all the budgets for the higher education. And one of the things on the chopping block was Clemson's public service activities budget, and the Master Gardeners fell under that category. So, I mean, they were seriously worried. So we organized as Master Gardeners, and it was throughout the state, but it was mainly the Richland County Master Gardeners that did this. We organized, and one of our members, Amelia Cotty, her husband, Bill, who was a representative, helped us tremendously with this. We went down to the State House, we wore straw hats, we got flowers from our yard, and we were allowed to talk to the individual lawmakers. And I don't think they knew what to do with us, because it was probably an odd sight for them, but it was so much fun for us. And we made the case for the Master Gardeners, and these public service activities are very important for a land grant university and such. And it was such a successful day and such a fun day for us. So that went on. So they got to keep their budget. And then in 2004, the Master Gardeners, I think I'm right on that date, but it's somewhere around there, took on the children's garden as a standing project and kept up the garden with Joe Hudson's help. And Joe Hudson was the caretaker on the property, such a sweet man. And he would keep it mowed and bring mulch if we needed it and that kind of thing. So then in 2011, Stan Perry helped us set up a fundraising arm for the Children's Garden, a 501c3 called Friends of the Children's Garden. And we had to register with the Secretary of State, and that is still active, and we keep that up yearly. So that meant people could deduct their contributions to the Children's Garden because of the 501c3. I think now the Master Gardeners themselves have a 501c3, don't they? Okay.
Yes.
You just do.
Okay. We had fundraisers at the time for the garden, and one was Rudy Menke's nature tour. It was very popular. And then the Rain Dogs and Elves, which we had several times. And that was hilarious, because people would dress up their dogs in Christmas costumes, and sometimes the owners dressed up to match them. And they had competitions, and we would judge them. And Tony's husband, Jeffrey, played Santa Claus, but we called him Santa Paws. And we brought him to the garden in Jim Nyland's red old vintage Cadillac convertible. And it was a great success and great fun for the community. It was a little cold, was the only problem. We all froze to death, but it was so much fun. So that was very successful. And then in 2015, Dr. Coleman became the new director of the Sandhill Rec, and the new mission, they changed the mission to agribusiness. So she brought a whole bunch of people with her to do research, crop trials on the property. And so biosecurity became a big issue. She couldn't have people walking through the fields, messing up with the research data. And so they started fencing in the property. And then she came to us, I think it was 2018, and she said, I have to move the children's garden from the back of the property because we're going to have crops there, and I don't want the public in the back of the property, but we will help you move the garden to the front of the property, and I'll hire somebody to help with it, and the public will have access from the front. So Clemson agreed to move the small buildings, which was the birdhouse, Mr. McGregor's house, and McDonald's house. They hired Jennifer Kantrovich as to help us move the garden. They set aside 2 acres next to the farmer's market for the new garden, put up a fence around the 2 acres, put in a well, placed a storage container behind the security fence to store our supplies. They moved the large gazebo near the White Cottage, which we used to use during the Sparkleberry Fair, to the center of the new garden. And that was wonderful because that was our new stage. They moved the Butterfly Girl statue from the old to the new garden. they said they provide an entrance gate. We haven't put it up yet because we still need to have the ability to have trucks go through the front gate. But we will put it up before the grand opening. They'll mow the garden and treat for fire ants, and they named the new garden the Sandhill Children's Garden. So as that was going on, and it took a while because the staff was very busy putting up fences around the property, so we had to wait for them. Jennifer Kantrovich formed a design team and invited the following master gardeners to be on it: Amelia Cotty, Wendy McConnell, Mimi Sansbury, and myself. And now that it's, gosh, 3 years later, 2021, the design team, things have changed because of either illness or retirement. And now the design team is Jennifer Kantrovich, Linda Hughes, Elaine Jeter, and myself. Jennifer set up garden committees and asked for volunteers from the master gardeners. Like, for instance, the Peter Rabbit or the Mr. McGregor's garden, you'd sign up for one of the gardens that you were particularly drawn to for whatever reason. And then it was decided that we would start with the gardens in the front. We thought, let's do a few things and get them done, and learn from that, and then handle the rest. But unfortunately, the COVID pandemic came, and the property was closed from March 2020 to all the volunteers and most of the staff, and then it was closed for almost a year and a half. So everything stopped dead, even though we still continue to meet, and the master gardeners continue to meet virtually, by Zoom meetings, to try to keep the enthusiasm up. It was hard sometimes because people started giving up, when I'm sure you ran into that too. So we got back on the property in this past June, and we were so happy to be together. This pandemic taught us how important human relationships are and togetherness. So we set to work. But we didn't have that many volunteers, so we had to recruit family and friends to help us with the work. And some of it was heavy work, shoveling, digging deep holes, that kind of thing. So we worked every Wednesday throughout the summer. Some of it was very hot, and I worried about some of us. But we were planning to have a soft opening of the garden, which motivated us highly. About the time of the plant sale, and then that had to be canceled because the virus started surging back. So now we will just have our grand opening in around May sometime. Okay, and we can start with the slides, and I wanted to show you some of these pictures. The first picture should be of the logo that Sharon Lovejoy painted. Oh, where did she come from? That's Sharon Lovejoy, by the way. And she says, people ask her, is this the title of your book? And she says, no, it's my job, Cultivating Wonder. And that is, and we think it says imagine on the back of his shirt. It either says imagine or exercise. We can't decide. But that's Sharon Lovejoy, the little girl with the little red braid down the middle of her back. That is her, probably growing up in her grandmother's garden. And she loves sunflowers, and that's what we see. So sunflowers is something we're paying close attention to in the garden. Next, okay. There we go. I love her style. Okay.
Pointillism.
Here we go. Excuse me.
Okay, so while Clemson put up the fence, they also put up the sign letting people know it's coming back. People were upset that the children's garden was going away, and I appreciated them doing that, and it made us feel good that it was going to happen. Okay, now this is a video that I took before we did anything. Clemson had brought over a few of the buildings, and the pie shapes, and and that was it. And I wanted to take a video of it.
Sorry, I'm not,
Is the video not working on that?
yeah, I'm not sure why it's not.
Okay,
Hang on.
okay,
Not sure what happened there.
okay,
We've practiced this, you all.
yeah.
Ah,
Okay, well, that's okay. We can, but it basically shows is an empty field. So we were starting from scratch. And before in the old children's garden, we could volunteer in the garden. It wouldn't be terrible because we already had an existing garden. On this, we had to start from scratch.
let me try
and we
something
didn't
real
know-
quickly. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
gonna try.
We didn't know where it was going, but we had faith that it was going somewhere.
Valerie, the pictures are at the bottom.
At the
Not-
bottom?
They're
Yeah,
different.
there's small pictures at the,
Yeah, I
That-
was trying to.
click on that one picture. Yeah, at the bottom. It looks like it moved when you clicked on it.
Okay,
Don't worry about it. We'll just go
Okay.
to the next slide.
okay, sorry about that.
I was just going to show you what it looked like before. Okay, so then we're talking about the entrance, and we had a drawing that we liked and everything. And Steve and Chris said, you want to come and look at this entrance? This was from the conservation station, which was across from the old garden. And it's cute as the dickens, I think. I love this one. He said, could you use this as the entrance? And I said, I don't know if the scale is right, but certainly willing to try, because we were supposed to try to use as much as we could from the old garden. And so it hasn't been put into place yet. But once we get most of the things in the garden, we're going to put it in place before the opening. But the good thing about this is that you can lock the door.
Oh, nice.
So, since we had a homeless man living, we found a homeless man living in Old McDonald's farm. We figured we better be able to lock this thing. Okay, next. It's cute though, with a cutout for the tree where you can look through.
Yeah.
And this was the cute little bird garden, and Elaine Jeter is going to turn that into a whole big bird garden, and we're going to clean that up. And we have to have cedar shake shingles on it, very thin ones. And we're going to, I think we're going to end up putting regular shingles on it. We're going to see if we have enough new shingles to put on. So that'll be cute. And we call this the demon pig in front of Old McDonald's farm. He looks possessed. And that stayed pretty well. There's built-in chairs. Kids always love that. And there were plexiglass windows, and they're out now. And I like them better out, I think. Connie Vercade made a stained glass window, and she put it in the upper left side on the it was so cute, but vandals broke that out over the years. And this is the millstone from the old garden. And we'll show you how it got there. But this needs maybe a new roof. I brought, you can go to the next one if you like. I brought this little goat. I saw this at Mill Creek greenhouses, and
Oh, yeah.
and I just thought I'd inspire us to see this garden's going to happen. I felt like we needed to keep our spirits up. And I also, to keep the spirits up when it was so hot, I wrote workday reports, and I've copied some of you on them. And if you want me to copy you on it, please just tell me and give me your email address, and I'll add your name to it. But it was just a way for us I wanted to honor everybody's great efforts and capture their spirit and their hard work. So you can see that the grass is overgrown. The grass has been a real bear for us to deal with. And we're dealing with it by cardboard, believe it or not. Okay, you can go.
Okay.
Oh, this is Stephen. This is a big day in the garden.
You know what? Hang on just a minute, because I
Okay,
think I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute and then go back
Okay.
into the album. Because I think you've gone to a lot of, they were working before we,
yeah, they were working. Yeah.
let me try going back out to the
Okay.
technical difficulty. Does anybody
If-
have any questions at this point?
Oh, that's good.
Oh, my goodness.
Val, could you tell us how many children average coming per year or how many?
Okay, they did a count one year. I think they had 49 programs and 1,700 school children came to visit. This is the old
Wow.
garden. So,
Wow.
and we had an educator at the garden once, Chanda Cooper, and we raised enough money that we could, hire an educator, which would be a dream for us in the future. She was excellent, but Richland too brought busloads of children over, and that could happen again.
Okay,
Don't worry, Valerie, don't worry about it.
So let me try this again now.
Okay,
Sorry, I just had to close some things out.
okay.
There, here's the first video.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, the first one, okay. There's the empty field except for the gazebo and the buildings and the pie-shaped pieces. Okay, so that's what we started with
Okay,
in June.
okay, here we go.
Good for you. This is Stephen Crisp, and that's my cackling. He's bringing the butterfly girl from the old garden to the new, and I can't tell you what it meant to us that day. We cheered, we clapped, he put it in the middle of the butterfly garden, and we immediately named her Sandhill Sally. And she was going to oversee all the garden activities, and she was going to be a blessing to our garden. So she is a special place in our hearts. And there's sweet Linda Hughes, who has raised in her utility room all the plants practically that you see in this garden. It is a phenomenon. She raises them in a utility room. She takes them to her balcony, which looks like a jungle now, and she brings them every week. She says, anybody need any peppers? Anybody need any of this, any of that? Maypops, cypress vine.
Did you mention what floor she lives on?
14th floor, the 14th floor of a senior high-rise condo building downtown. So she actually, I think, has inspired the rest of us, because she's generous with it, and she's taught us how to. I didn't raise as many plants from seed before. I started my dining room, and my husband said, "It looks like you're growing pot, Val. You got to move that light to." So I moved it to my bathroom so nobody could see it. But she planted the zinnias, and you see the cardboard. I mean, I know it's unattractive now, but we're trying to stamp out the Bahia grass to put in a pathway around Sandhill Sally. And then even in the beds, we just have to suppress the weeds. It's a tremendous problem. But and there is sweet Jim Hightower. Came every week. He was our tool man. He had all these tools, and he worried about things being straight. Gardeners come in all types, and some of us are loosey-goosey, and some of us are perfectionists, and so we need perfectionists to keep us straight. And he comes every week and helps Linda put up the fence, and to watch those two together is so sweet, because we're careful with each other. We appreciate the help, and we're not bossy with each other. So if somebody asks for help, we help. And but we don't butt in and say, oh, you should do this and you should do that. It just doesn't work. And so everybody has they have their own vision of the garden, and we don't want to interfere with their creativity. So Jim has all the tools. And this is, okay, we planted tomatoes because of course Linda brought some. And then the tomato hornworm showed up, and he's a juicy little fella. You've probably seen him on your own tomatoes. And what does he turn into, Valerie? We decided a spotted hawk moth or something.
Something like that. Yeah,
but it was amazing. As soon as we put plants in here, the insects came immediately. And we'll show you the next slide. Okay, the Gall fritillary butterfly. her host plant to lay her eggs on is the maypop. And this is the native version of the maypop. There are other they called nativars. They're cultivars of native plants. They call nativars. And but the butterflies did not flock to them like they did to the original species of maypop. And we thought that was interesting. But in no time at all they came. Oh, here's a
To me, so
Here you go.
amazing.
this was the maypop. It looks like it came from another planet.
Me, so
Beautiful.
And it started blooming right away. And the butterflies came right away. They came to her zinnias right away. It's like they've been waiting for years. Finally, you guys got your act together. And then this, okay, so the Gulf Fridley, this is the underside of her wings. Well, we were standing there talking in the little arbor that goes in the butterfly garden and just look down. Now, you don't see chrysalises very much in nature. They're hidden. They look like dried leaves. As we were standing there, we saw this butterfly starting to flex its wings. And I said, oh my God, it's already started. So that was a treat to catch that, because you miss that a lot in nature. But it was like the universe was telling us, you're on the right track here. Keep going. So, okay, these sweet fellas, I have to tell you, when I was having trouble with my knee and I went to for some rehab, and my trainer, I was telling about the garden. I said, the only problem is that a lot of us are in our 70s and 80s, and we don't have the strength anymore, and we've got a lot of heavy things to move from one garden to the next. And he said, I've got a solution. I've got the guys that can do it. He had a martial arts group that trained, and one Saturday they came and spent hours in the old garden. And this young man, oh, you probably can't see my pointer, can you? The young man with the tallest one, the cute one there, yeah, in the back with the dark shirt on, he came as a child to the old garden. So he was thrilled. He even had his mother send him a picture of himself sitting in the old garden when he was little. So sweet boys. And they came and they moved things that we told them, oh, don't even try that. Don't even try that. Oh, we can do it. We can do it. They moved that millstone, and it was not easy. This is them. I mean, it's so heavy. We could not have done that without their help. But the strange thing is, I think they were having fun, and because they asked us, when can we come back again? So I think for master gardeners, as we age and we can get down, but we can't get up, that kind of thing. I think this is a solution. We ask some younger people in the community to come help us, and they enjoy doing it. They really seem to appreciate what we were doing, and we could even teach them about gardening. I think they would like it. One of the young men was engaged, and he said, oh, I'm going to get married next year. I said, maybe you'll get married in the garden.
Aw,
Wouldn't that be something?
wow.
Yes. Let us
So now
know.
they feel connected to it, and they keep asking my trainer, when can we go again? When can we go again? I thought that was just amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, we could go on to the next one. There's one more, I think. This is Trey. He was remember the bell that was outside the Three Bears garden? Well, it was put in the ground, I guess not in cement, but I said, oh, that's going to be too hard to get out of there. And Trey says, watch this. He kicks it 3 times and pulls it out. And I know he was showing off, but it was just so much fun. And then they brought all that up to the new garden. So we got rocks, we got statuary, we got pots, we got all those things. It's at the new garden, thanks to them. And that was just maybe 3 hours of their time.
Yeah.
This is Don. This is Debbie Thomas's sweet husband. They came as a package. It was Debbie, Don, and Demetrius, their neighbor. And they got so much done. And in fact, they would teach the rest of us. Don and Demetrius is going to school to become a contractor. So he is studying this and doing this, and he's using these pictures in his portfolio. So a lot of the fencing was rotting in the old garden. And he had to replace it. There was sanding, there's new wood. But they slowly worked at it and it's adorable today. Go ahead. And there's Demetrius he's replacing, the wood was rotten on the top. And he's replacing that wood. They found the old setup here with the drains going into the barrel, the rain barrel, and they figured that out and got it set up. And now they're putting on a new roof.
Nice.
But we're watching them and teaching us. And this is Debbie. We had Peter Rabbit. He was in I guess probably the Quonset hut, and brought him up. And Debbie took him home and made him brand new. Isn't he cute? I think she did a fabulous job.
It's
Precious.
sweet.
And then she found the bamboo. I don't know if it was at the old garden or there's plenty of bamboo on the property, but to make a teepee, and planted this snake gourd on it. And I'd never seen a snake gourd, and I'll be darned if they don't look like snakes. But kids could go in that teepee and it would be all covered up, and it'd be such a private place. It'd be so appealing to come. You can show the next slide and I'll show you the snake gourds. See them, aren't they unbelievable?
Yikes.
They truly look like snakes.
Hmm.
So that took off like crazy. And one of the reasons it took off and our plants are doing so well is we bought compost from Resoil, which is out near the landfill. And it's made from restaurant waste. And we had to buy eventually 2 truckloads of it. But the plants just appreciated the nutrition in it, and they did well right off. This was the sensory garden. It has 6 pie pieces on each side as you enter, and it needed to be filled with dirt. That we were dreading that. That was the hardest thing. Steve and Chris brought us over a pile of dirt, and we would shovel and throw it in there and shovel and throw it in there and give somebody else a turn. But it had to be half dirt and halfway up. And then this is Jane Key, who came to the garden one time because I think completely wore her out. She came and she shoveled that compost like a trooper. I mean, I thought, oh my God, I'm never letting you go. If I have to adopt you, I will. She helped us tremendously because we filled up these pie pieces halfway full of dirt, and the top half is compost. And then there's sweet Kim Toogood. She's on our board, and she's very physically fit. She works out, and her husband Ian is a pilot, commercial airline pilot. And she brought her boys, and she brought him, and then he worked like crazy, and so did Kim. And that was one nice thing about, because we needed volunteers so badly, we reached out to the community, and I think that was a strength, because we were supposed to be reaching out to the community and getting them involved. And I found that it worked very well, and they were so helpful. Okay, we first planted, you can go back. I started these sunflowers with seeds from a packet, in my bathroom. And I planted them in the little pie shapes, and they just took off like crazy. And that was the first time we saw them after a week of growing. And then you can show the next one, I think. And they got this big. They were 6, 7, 8 feet tall. And then we harvested them, the heads, and I have them drying in my dining room right now.
I'm sorry.
Because we want to use the seeds for the next, for the gardening in the spring. But we thought that was such a cheerful sight that we think that we want to plant these sunflowers wherever we can around the children's garden. They're so welcoming, aren't they? There's just something about them.
Yes.
And this was a cute idea. We were looking at things to make out of clay pots. And Kim Toogood has made this. This is not the one this is the picture we had. It's heavy, so it's hard to keep him standing up. And we've been trying to figure out how to do this. But we wanted a little horse maybe tied in old McDonald's farm. But isn't that clever? And then there's little people you can make out of clay pots that we want to,
And maybe a
that we
maybe a not demonic pig.
yeah, yes. Well, Jennifer's gonna pressure wash the pig, then paint him white with black spots.
Good.
And
Be careful with the
put a pink
eyes.
nose on him so he'll look good. This is a cute idea, where you just have a vase that looks like a pot that looks like a face, and then it gives him this hairdo. I think the idea of adding a little humor to the garden is not a bad idea. And we can use that somewhere in the garden.
Oh, yeah.
This is Demetrius, and I think this was but it's okay if you don't show the video. He
Oh,
was spray painting one day, spray painting the arbor that he made himself out of wood that Clemson bought, and then spray painted the fence, and had a machine to do the spray painting. But I mean, that sweet man, he has done more to help us, and he's always cheerful and nice. Okay, so then if you bring anything interesting, everybody wants to work on it. So one day I wanted to make signs for this sensory garden, and I brought some wood and I had paint and wanted to, so a small little crowd gathered, and everybody worked on it. And Jim drilled holes in the signs, and that's Libba Schrader there. She was helping him paint it. She painted it. That's right. She painted them. And go ahead, show the video is not playing. Oh, I'm sorry. The video is not playing. So Harriet was on that video too. Harriet thought they should be sanded on the ends of the piece of wood, so she rubbed bricks against them until she sanded it smooth.
Funny.
Okay, we can do another if you like.
I'm
Another
sorry, I don't
slide.
know why the video.
And I think the last one, I would like this to be a video, if you can possibly get that to work.
All right. Bear with me for a minute and I'll try this again. I'm not sure why it's freezing.
Okay.
Golly. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Let me share. Too many things going on here.
I have faith in you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, here we go.
There it is.
You
this
turn
is
the
how
sound up on-
Pilgrim's Garden looks
Okay, good.
in October, the end of October, 2021. Most of the fencing is up for the butterfly garden. There's Sandhill Sally there, keeping watch over her garden. We've already harvested the tall sunflowers, and we're saving the seeds for next spring. The bird garden, I'm going to work on that today. Beautiful gazebo. There's plants brought by the master gardeners, see if we can use them in the garden, and we sure can. Some shrubs that we're hoping to plant today. Let me go back to Old McDonald's farm. Jennifer and Kim Too Good have put up the fence around that. It's really looking cute. We're using these beds for the sensory garden just to keep plants alive while we find other places for them. And now you can see the entrance to the old Mr. McGregor's garden. And that's going to be such a cute garden. So it's where we are today, and another month before we break for December, and then we'll be back at it again in January. So lots of progress.
It's Elaine, Harriet, and Debbie. Where do they get those hats? But they're just wonderful in the garden, wonderful workers and creative people.
Definitely community happening there. Some people may recognize this red flower from the plant sale that Harriet, I believe Harriet is the one that started them from seed, and we sold some at the Master Gardener.
Oh.
Not sure what happened to the,
What is her name?
Her name is Gina. Protecting the garden too.
those cute little curved.
What is her name? Her name is Gina.
Sorry.
I love that little worm.
When is Deb, are you on this call or this Zoom? We have to
I'm
unmute.
here.
Okay, you want to tell the story about Gina?
With Demetrius, when we are out there working and we do something out of lack of anything else to say stupid, he goes, Gina. And we're all looking around going, who are you talking to? And he goes, Gina. And so when I painted the snake, I told Demetrius, I said, that snake's name is Gina. So that's how she got her name.
There was I'm not sure what happened to the video of Debbie. Lonnie, we did
That's
practice.
okay.
This is Old McDonald's farm. This came from the old children's garden. And what it's called. Millstone came from the old garden. And that we'll be installing that eventually. We need a strong person to pick it up for us. So we can dig it up. We have the little pig here. I'm not sure where I'm gonna put him for sure, but we're gonna paint him, and some people say he looks scary, so we're gonna try to make him look cute. And we got the old windmill from the old garden, and that'll be somewhere in this area. We have the bell, so these are the old garden that we're gonna put. I think we're gonna put it up to the when you walk into the garden. It's gonna ring the bell. Arrow that needs to be this year. That'll be in the garden. And as far as plantings in the garden, hoping to have blueberry shrubs maybe along the fence here. And then somewhere in here have a raised bed with some maybe some vegetables. Somebody had suggested corn, so we'll see. I'd also love to have like a little wooden tractor that the kids can sit on and play on. It won't move, it'll just sit there and they can just climb on it and pretend like they're driving the tractor. This is Omen.
Okay, sorry.
Hey, I'm in charge of the educational area, and I think it's going to be the key to the children's garden because I want to connect the educational garden to every other part of the garden. I want us to have classes where we have speakers and experts. I want to do iNaturalist, where the children can identify insects in the children's garden, and we can keep an inventory of what they find so that we'll know what was crawling around here. I want to connect to the butterflies so they can identify the butterflies. I want to connect to the bird garden so that they can identify birds. I would like for this to be a place where families can learn together. And the educational garden is going to have, it's not ready yet, Blythewood High School shop classes are building benches and chairs and tables for us to work on. And I hope to have a place for speakers to come so that when they get here, their supplies will be in storage but available. And we're going to try to get money to buy mats if the children have to sit on the ground. We want to store that in the benches. And I just have lots of art ideas and craft ideas. So my head is just exploding with ways we can educate families when they come here. I want it to be a community place where people can come and enjoy a nice area with flowers and bugs and bees. And
I have to say, when I was talking to Harriet, there was a bug on her back and I brushed it off and she said, wait, what kind was it?
She's into bugs.
Yes.
Yeah, well, so tell me a little bit about why you got involved with the children's garden.
Sure. So my name is Erica Staley, and the reason I became involved with the Sandhill Children's Garden is mostly my children. I have two boys. One just turned 6, or one just turned 9, and one is about to turn 6. And so for me, I grew up in Columbia. I went to Forest Lake Elementary and graduated from Richland Northeast. And so Forest Lake Park was a really big part of my childhood. My brother and I played sports. We went to after school camp. Every camp you can think of, we were there. And so a part of my fondest memories is actually exploring the trees and the wooded areas at the park. And so in this kind of climate, I think about ways that we can encourage the best parts of our childhood for our children, our boys. And so having the chance to, as a parent, be able to help work to develop and design and build an environment where they can connect with nature and other children in the community is just something that I think is really awesome. And so for that reason, I'm involved with the Children's Garden. And so for love of youth, for love of community, and also just knowing about, I think for all of us to kind of ground ourselves and recenter ourselves after everything that we've been going through, I think that the Children's Garden is going to be an awesome place where everyone of all ages can come and just relax and enjoy all of the benefits and the fun that exists in nature.
Okay. And here are the plants that are waiting for volunteers to
We're
come,
waiting. We're bringing our shovels on Wednesday.
including some leftovers from the plant sale. And I apologize, Deb, I don't know what happened to your video where she describes the, I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but
It's all good. Yeah, you have some good pictures. We're excited about it. I'm just glad you got a picture of Gina in there.
well, this was so interesting, and the history and the partnerships that the collaborations that made this garden possible from the very beginning, I think are interesting. Does anybody have any questions, or do you have anything to add, Val?
Well, I just wanted to say a few things, and it might address some of the questions that you might be thinking of. It took perseverance on a lot of people's part to keep this project going. But it takes perseverance in life. We're not strangers to that. And I have to say that it's been the most rewarding experience of my life working with these volunteers. I've come to love all of them and respect them so much. So unselfish, so creative. I couldn't ask for better people to create a garden for the community with. It's touched me very much. After being in politics for 8 years, I saw the worst side of human nature sometimes, people only doing things to make themselves richer or whatever, but this is the best side of human nature, and I'm very grateful that I got to see this. I do make a write-up of the work days, and if you'd like to receive them, just contact me, hutchv.sc@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send them, include you on that list. We'll be saving seeds in the garden, and here's one of the sunflowers that I'm collecting, drying and collecting seeds from. And we're going to be planting them next year. And my husband said, "Oh, is this our supper?" But we'll give them, we're going to collect a lot of seeds in the garden. We have been, and we'll be glad to give them to the master gardeners for free. We might eventually sell them to the public for a small amount of money, but we're definitely going to give them to the master gardeners for free. So especially then you get to see what the plant looks like, and gee, I'd like some of those. And so we want to have a grand opening around May, and we'd like the master gardeners to debate among yourselves what you think would be the best day. Columbia Green has moved their garden tour to April. And I don't know whether to wait till June when the kids are out of school so they could come. I'm not sure. Clemson would probably be willing to have a Saturday, open, and that we could have the public on the property. But if the master gardeners could look at that and see what date you think would be good, I'd appreciate that. That would help us. And I know that we all wonder how much with the new hours, 7:15 to 4:15 during the week, and no other traffic allowed on the weekend, how will people see our gardens? How will they see the compost garden? How will they see the cottage garden and the children's garden? And it's our concern too. It's good in a way that for the children's garden, we're not in the very back of the property. Now we're in the front. We won't have the vandalism that we had because it's not hidden. It's in pretty plain sight, even from Clemson Road. And in the summers, it won't be a problem because the kids will be out of school. But it's going to take us a while to see how this works out. If the public exposure is enough, for all the effort that's being put into it. And we thought that we would see how this first year goes and see how much people are willing to park their car and walk. How far are they willing to walk? And let's look at that for a year, and we can assess it after about a year of experience, because the compost garden and the cottage garden, we have space in our children's garden for a scaled down version of each of those gardens. And you are welcome to put them in there if you think you're not getting enough contact with the public. So for a year, we're not going to put anything in those spots, and we'll let you assess and let your volunteers decide what you'd like to do. Because it's a lot of work for everybody to go to without having the public see it. And then I think it'll evolve over time. Maybe if these things are popular enough, Clemson will be more inclined to, have it open more often. It's just going to have to unfold. So I'm not going to worry about that now. Our sole purpose is to get this garden in by the end of spring. And we'd love for you to join us. We work every Wednesday. And it's a great group, just like all your volunteer groups are fun. And you join friendships, you form friendships that last for a lifetime, really. And I know all of you that work in the compost site and the other gardens are very dedicated to your projects too. So I think that, honestly, I read a lot about Thomas Green Clemson when I was doing research for this, and how he actually really became the momentum behind the Morrill Land Grant Act that Abraham Lincoln signed, as a matter of fact, in 1862. And he wanted the extensions to reach out to the public and share research-based data with them. And I think the Master Gardeners do a phenomenal job of doing that and have done for years. And I think Thomas Green Clemson would be very proud of all of us. So so thank you. And do you have any questions about
Thank
the
you.
garden?
Thank you.
Valerie.
This is Gail Jeffcoat. I have a question.
Sure.
Now, do you have a wish list of plants or items that you need in the garden?
We do kind of have a wish list, yes. And we've been trying to think about how we can ask. We went on Facebook to try to ask, see if there's any. What we'd love is a carpenter in the community, a retired carpenter who could help build us a tractor, but we can put together another wish list. We've solved some of our problems, but certainly, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking if you had a running wish list, I mean, it could be that some of us have things that you want and we'd be happy to give them to you.
Good idea, Gail. Thank you. Okay, we can do that.
Gail, that was going to be my question as well. And if we could, I don't know, I'm not looking because I'm watching this. I don't know if we have a hub on our member site for things you might need or activities coming up that some of us may have more expertise in than others.
Okay, that's good.
And that your wish list could be there with that information in one central place. It's just a thought.
Sure, and also your areas of expertise, because I picture Master Gardeners being docents in this garden. Master Gardeners are basically teachers, and I picture you giving classes in the garden, planning events in the garden, just being an integral part of the whole project. So you're right, to find out what your specialties are would be great. And to find out if you have skills or husbands or neighbors that have skills. you know, that there's a lot of retired people in our community, and I think they might enjoy, you know, participating a bit. But I will take your questions to heart and try to get a list of wishes and talents that we're looking for.
Sounds
Good
Um,
idea.
Kathy stuff,
Valerie,
yeah.
Valerie, did you want to tell them about our Facebook page? Friends
Oh.
of
Yeah, okay, that's been very helpful. The Facebook page, Kim Toogood figured out how to get a donate button on the Facebook page. But the problem we have found, and people have been very sweet about responding, is that there's several things we can't see. I can't see going on at how much they gave. I can't see, they have their name, but we haven't gotten the money yet. The Facebook, and this must be one of their things, that they keep the money up to 90 days before they give it to you.
Oh,
And we can use the money now. I mean,
they're using it now.
what's that?
They're using the money now.
They're using the money for 90 days, yes. So we've learned our lesson, and as we wait for that money to come in, we're setting up PayPal, which is much better. So we're trying to think of fundraising ideas, and people in the community are good. They just about giving and caring about it and saying, I'm so glad the children's garden's coming back, but we have to make it easy for them to get involved. And we have to, and I need to get their information, you know, so we can email them and make a member list and that kind of thing. So we're figuring that out.
I would love to have some cards from our logo of the garden. You know, that's a perfect card that I would love to send out.
Oh, you mean just with that on the cover of the card, front
Yeah.
thing, and you open it up?
Yes,
That's a cute
yes.
idea.
If we could have permission, I'd buy them. I'm ready.
All right, good attitude. Who was saying, Linda Hughes was saying, oh no, Elaine Jeter. Her sister is a watercolorist, and she was going to paint flowers from the garden and scenes from the garden and sell those as note cards, which is what
Right.
you're kind of talking about.
Or Christmas cards, you know, are coming up, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think we can get it together that fast, but but you're right. In the future, I think that's a great idea.
I posted the Friends of the Sandhill Children's Garden out on the chat. So if you guys go to Facebook and search for us, that's another resource that you can share with your friends to get more publicity and keep you up to date of all the cool stuff that we're doing out there.
Okay.
I put that in the chat.
Yeah, Gina's there.
Yeah.
Gina,
Yeah, come see Gina.
Yeah, that's a good card too.
Gina gives advice on your love life.
Perfect.
Just blame Gina.
yeah,
We had
Gina
to
gets
use
blamed.
humor in the garden, though, is important. So I was thinking this is just a crazy idea I had. What if I had a rock and roll herb garden? And I call it, let me see, Elvis parsley,
Perfect.
big basil, the Savory Brothers, peppermint twist, chubby chives, Sergeant Pepper, the mamas and the peppers,
Oh, yes.
You know, the Riverbanks Botanical Garden just did some of that, and they took old blue jeans and turned them into planters.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's nice.
It was really cute.
They're generous with us about sharing what to do and what not to do. And they said, don't put water in the garden because DHEC will give you a nightmare about it.
Well, they meant
So
slides, water slides, right?
yeah,
Or
yeah. So we decided not to even go there.
Not even an
Fountain?
old pump at McGregor's farm.
Maybe an old pump that nobody, but you wonder that the children, you don't want them drinking the water because it's not drinkable water. So,
Oh,
you know, you have to
No.
be so careful with everything.
Right.
They just talked about the tremendous amount of vandalism they had, but they serve thousands and thousands of people, and over 1 million a year. And so that, we won't have that problem. And if we have docents in the garden, I think that'll discourage that. But they said they couldn't do cute, detailed things like I hope we're going to be able to do because of the volume of visitors.
Right, right.
Well, thank you so much, Val, and to all the people who helped let me come out in video. Even though there were some cuts, but this has been really interesting. And if there aren't any final questions, I know we've kind of gone over, but it was so worth it. Does anybody have any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Val.
Sure, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Val,
Yes.
Thank
Bravo,
you.
bravo.
bravo.
Elvis appreciates it.
All right. I will stop this recording.